would you mind introducing yourself just briefly?
Sure. I am John Avina, and I am the writer and creator for Avina Comics.
You're the first Chicago-based creator that I connected with online, so I was really excited to talk to you.
Yeah, Pilsen, that like kind of general area is super known for like the arts and that kind of like spirit of like creativity.
Imagery, the heritage and everything. You know, you see it in the murals around this part of the city, and it's reflected in the artwork that's in your books as well.
I've lived in Pilsen like my whole life. I love it. And it's cool seeing the way it's kind of evolved. I'm excited to see where it's going to be 10 years from now. My family owns a tortilleria in Pilsen called Sabina's. We've been there since like 1981, I think is kind of like when my grandpa took it over. And then Sabina's kind of became our home in Pilsen. So I've been there. I've worked there like my whole life. Like I remember being a little kid, being like asleep in the office there and then going down the street to like St. Anne to go to school and then coming back in the afternoon to work with my dad because it's my grandpa's company.
So you're probably staying here, right?
Yeah, I don't think I'm going anywhere. Yeah, it's definitely like if you give Pilsen a chance, if you give like certain Chicago neighborhoods like a chance to really grow on.
I read your books. You sent them to me. You also sent me some really cute buttons and some pens. So I was really excited. Like, what a great package. So thank you.
No worries.
And I loved your books. They were so good. And Lockjaw and Pistolero was my favorite one. Very invested.
Yes, we are almost done with book 4, but total there's already 10 issues out because we spun it off a few times. So there's Lockjaw and Pistolero, then there's Campfire Tales, which are just a bunch of one-shots that I wrote because I had a bunch of cool ideas for like one-shot monster stories. So I wrote a bunch of those. And then we did Lockjaw and Van Helsing, which is like his time with his mentor. And that one was really fun because they take on like a sorcerer, but it's Christopher Columbus. So that was real special to me to write.
You let something out with that one, huh?
I did, for sure. So that was a lot of fun. And then I just finished talking with our artist a little while ago about like our mainline stuff. And we have the art for issue 4 already going to the printer. And then issue 5 is already halfway done. And that's going to close the book on like our first arc. And then I think Medicine needs a break from me for a little while. And then we're going to jump back on as soon as he's ready.
I was on your site and I was looking to figure out what you're explaining right now, because I was trying to understand like what the line looks like in general. So thank you for explaining that. That's why it's not just like one long run. Like you have the one shots, and that's part of like where maybe some of my confusion was coming in. Also keep in mind I have ADHD. I'm reading 40 things at once, and I'm in school, so I'm not a great fan. I'm trying to be a good fan, but I'm not a great fan. So.
No, it's definitely a lot. And it's something my wife will tell me a lot too. She's like, hey, finish one series at a time. Because like I started a line of Lockjaw novels. Like if you look behind me, there's like that little shelf right there. So we actually have a custom made Lockjaw action figure.
She's so cute.
A friend made it for me. I met him on TikTok and he was like, let me make you something. So he made that. But then we have like Lockjaw novels that I wrote.
Oh my gosh. Okay. How do you do so much? I don't understand. Like
how do you do ADHD. This? So like when I sit down to write, I'll only write. I don't scroll my phone. It's like, okay, I got like 45 minutes. What can we do in 45 minutes? And it's usually like a single draft of something and then like the revision. Cause I also have my son with me. My wife works in the afternoons and I work in the mornings. So we're always like passing ships. So my son is with me later in the day. So it's very much like if I have 20 minutes, I'm going to use that 20 minutes to like get something done.
20 minutes. Like let's say you're running around and you have errands to do and things like that, but you know you have this block of time. You sit down and you write?
Yeah, 100%. So right now we're actually working on like a really cool series, but I have a co-writer on it and he's in Los Angeles. It's 2 very different time zones. So a lot of times I'll send him something and then I won't hear from him for like an hour or 2. And then I'll have 5 minutes to like add his changes into it. And then we just keep working it that way.
Have you always been that way where you could do short bursts of work, or is that something that you learned and like taught yourself to do?
I think it's something I've taught myself to do. Because before doing this, I was a filmmaker, so I would make a bunch of like short films. I would have to spend the whole day in like a pre-production meeting. It took so much of my time that I pretty much stopped doing anything else because I didn't have the time to do it. So you kind of realize like you still want some semblance of a life. So you learn to do things in little bursts, especially since I do have like ADHD. I have to focus in those 20 minutes because 20 minutes is enough time for me to like exhaust myself and then jump over to the next thing.
I'm really glad that you're admitting that this is something you learned. That's very reassuring for me. So Thank you for not playing it off like that's how you've always been.
No, it's if you look behind me, I keep changing out what's behind my desks like at any given time based on what'll inspire me in those 20 minutes. And sometimes I'll lose time to like rearranging things instead of doing the thing I'm supposed to do. So it is very much an ADHD struggle, but when I get those 20 minutes to myself to just write, I'd make sure I'm writing.
That is very real on the ADHD thing because I think we're very environmental people. Like what our
Yes.
environment's like is going to determine so much. And that could be the people we're around, the things we're doing, or just the trinkets on your desk.
Yeah, for sure. Especially the people you're around. I've had a few people try to like co-write with me, and I told them like, just send me whatever you want me to like add, and I have to do I have to write it. And then I will give it to you. You make your adjustments, whatever we need to do, and then send it back to me, and then I'll do it. Like I can't physically sit in a room and write with somebody because I have to either make them laugh, kill the silence, tell a joke. I have to do something to keep the energy up. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to work.
Also relatable because honestly, like that's the best feeling in the world when you, especially if you're a creator, you want to make people feel something. I can barely co-work. If I'm co-working, it better be a day I don't have a lot to do because we're talking.
My other job is I work with a funeral home. I work at a funeral home. So I help with the embalming, with the prep, with all that kind of like really heavy stuff. So a lot of my books will deal with like death or grief. And I'm really kind of exploring that. And I read your article, by the way, that you posted the other day. It was really great, especially as someone that works in like the mortuary area. Really getting to like explore that is hard because I still have to like treat it as a job in order for that aspect of my work to function. If I'm just in mourning with the family the whole time, I'm not going to be able to help them the way that they need me to help them. And in order to do that, sometimes I have to learn how to like cut tension or like intervene, direct the mood in a different direction. And you'll see that a lot in my books. There's a book, I'm not sure if I sent it to you. It's called Americana. And the whole book is very much set around grief. It's a father and son kind of reuniting after the death of the mother. It's very Stephen King small town horror story, but it is one that I wrote specifically because of my time in the funeral business because I got into it in 2020. So like peak COVID's when I started and I needed an outlet, and that's what that book kind of became. And even now, it's like the hardest book I have to write. In order to get there, you have to kind of trick the brain into writing it, trying to balance those moods while creating something that a reader needs to have fun with it, regardless of how I'm feeling, because I'm writing for an audience, not just myself. And it's a real tricky slope, but I think for people that have gone through it or people that are going through it, meditative writing or creative writing is a great tool to kind of help you explore that side.
Thank you for reading my article.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I'm definitely going to read Americana. I'm going to get a copy for my sister too, because she's a mortician. She's really built for it. Some people are built for it. She's good at comforting people, but she's also good at making people laugh. And she brings this lightness with her. And I feel like you would do the same thing. Your comforting presence, based off this phone call or this video call, do have a lightness to you as well. And that's like a really special, rare person that can balance that. And so I imagine working on that writing project is really heavy and a big responsibility.
It is. And you got to treat it respectfully too, because a lot of times you'll see things when it comes to like funerals or things like that in stories, and they're just like these heavy moments where they don't let it breathe. If you go to a funeral, if you gone to a wake, the people most inset in that grief are like the immediate family, the ones closest. But those that are visiting, they're still living a life behind that family where they're talking in the kitchen, where they're having coffee, where they're reminiscing, but they're able to still laugh about it because there is that separation. And a lot of times when you see media dealing with death, they take that out of there. And that doesn't exist. There's not that dynamic of life is still happening while we're mourning life that's gone. If you look at Lockjaw, time and time again, we're reminded that he lost his friends. 10 years has passed, and in those 10 years, we don't get to see his grief period. We just see where he started and where he is, but immediately we will see where he is at the end of that 10 years. He's joking with ghosts, right? Like we see like that kind of bounce back, but that's what all those one-shots are my exploring grief with Lockjaw through these little pocket stories.
Grief is definitely one of I hate to say it's my favorite topic, but it kind of is right now. Our relationship with death is not good. We have a really unhealthy relationship with life and death in our culture in the United
Yeah.
States. Even like, we have a ton of cultures in the US, right? But just as a whole, the way that we treat it, the way that everything is so rushed and so separate, and then the way the media treats it, it doesn't really help with the process.
It really doesn't. So like on the American side of it, like death is very much this person died on a Friday. Let's do the burial on a Tuesday, and I need the death certificates on Thursday. In the Latin side of it, it is the person died on Friday. We want the wake next Friday because we want all these people to be able to come, and we don't have to rush the burial. The burial could be like 2:00 on Saturday, even if we have to pay more. And then we do a velorio, which is like another type of viewing on Sunday, and that'll last a week of prayer. Or if we're shipping the body to Mexico, then there's like a whole nother celebration happening there. And then even the rule for like ofrendas is you don't put the picture up for at least a year, because for a year, we don't think that they've moved on, that they're still here around us. So for that year, they're still present. And then after that year, we've hoped that they found their way. And then that's why we like the ofrenda, so that way they can find their way back. And that was left out of Coco, but that is a thing for us Latinos that like, I put in some of that in my work, but it's like, I now have a different relationship with death and grief because it is part of like my everyday from work. So that adding it to my storytelling has been really important, because I think if people see it in a natural state where it's talked about, it'll help heal you. Whereas if it's something that you're trying to push away, it's going to come back in an ugly form. So it's better to look at it and talk to it. My hero is Guillermo del Toro, and he talks about when he was a kid, he would see monsters all around his room when he was like a little kid in the crib, but he wasn't afraid of them. He just wanted to be their friends. And I think that's what we have to do with death, is like understand it as like a friend. We have to kind of understand that that's what makes things precious, is like it, like a comic. Comics are going to end, writers are going to change, but it's that story we got that matters. And that's all I hope people get from like Lockjaw and some of these other things, is like it'll stop one day, but if you enjoyed it, you can always come back to it.
Damn it, stop. Like, this is so good. I'm like, my eyebrow is starting to hurt because I'm like reacting so much. Damn, that was good. So,
Thank you.
and that's also part of the relationship that I personally have with comics, and why I love this medium, is that you can come back to it. I don't understand people who, and I guess I understand in a way, like some people need like an ending to things so they can move on. But I guess I'm, I love to grovel in it.
Yeah.
I like to be able to go back to something, and I love a series that goes forever. I know some people don't like to read long book series, but I'm like, let it keep going. Supernatural, maybe by season 15, it wasn't the same quality, but they could have gone for 10 more seasons. I would have stayed loyal because I want to keep it. I like that you can come back, because it's almost like coming back to a memory, and it almost lets you kind of like time travel in a way. And that's what memories let you do, is you get that time traveling experience of being with those people again, even though they're not with you, but you have to be brave and you have to face those feelings.
There's like a weird alchemy that happens when something really connects with you. So like you mentioned, like Supernatural, I remember where I was when I saw like the pilot. Like I remember being in like my bedroom. I was maybe a junior in high school when that came out. And I remember it coming out and me being like, all right, well, let's see what this is, because it'll never be better than Smallville. And I put it on and like right off the bat, I'm like blown away. Like John Winchester was like the coolest thing that I've ever seen. And like I fell in love with Dean, and it was great. And I'm a huge Gilmore Girls fan. Like, like to an extreme. Like I love that show. So like getting to see Sam and being like, well, it's funny because Sam's name was Dean, and then they do that Stars Hollow crossover thing. So like for me, it just checked everything. But like remembering that, and then I remember where I was when I read the first John Constantine like comic book, because I went to the comic book store and it was like Red Robin had just come out. So it was like Batman RIP had just happened. And then Red Robin was like my first comic where I, like, from that point to here is where I was like an avid comic reader. The guy that worked at the comic book shop would give me like attitude, because he was like an older guy, and he was just like, I understand that you like superheroes, but like try something a little bit different. He was like, I guarantee you're going to like it. And he gave me Swamp Thing, the like graphic novel, and he gave me Hellblazer, like the first volume of it. And he was like, just read these. And obviously I love Swamp Thing. It was amazing, but I didn't really understand a lot of it because Alan Moore is a very hard writer to understand when you're like 17. But Constantine, I knew the movies and I loved it. I loved like this grumpy old man who's seen it all, done it all. And like, obviously I took that and put it into Lockjaw. Like, this guy is so cool. And I remember being at the store, flipping through it, going home, sitting down and reading it. And then immediately the next day going back and buying like the next 2 volumes because I needed then to consume everything Constantine. So like there is that special attachment to when you connect with a story or a song or something where it is teleportation. It is your ability to time travel and go back to like a specific moment and refeel those feelings every time.
Your relationship with Constantine is, it does make a lot of sense now, knowing that that's one of your influences and one of your favorite things, just based off of like what I read. And yeah, it's like, it's the mystical, it's the dark, it's moody, but it's lighthearted in how it approaches those things too. So yeah, Constantine's amazing. I love Supernatural. Sure, no one could get away from me talking about Buffy. So even if you tried to avoid me talking about it, you've probably seen me talk about it. So.
So I'm also a wedding photographer. Like, I have too many jobs, but I had a wedding that was like an hour and a half away, and I was struggling leaving that wedding because I was so tired because they're like 10 to 12-hour days. And I was like, I need something to just, like an album I can listen top to bottom, like no skips. And it was the Buffy musical. The whole drive, I just remembered like me and my wife watching, cause she got me into Buffy. So I remember watching Buffy with her cause we had the DVD box sets cause we worked at Barnes & Noble together. And that's how we started hanging out, was like she came over, she brought Buffy and we would watch Buffy. So I remember like watching that musical episode together, buying the CD and burning it out like time and time again. So that whole drive home, I was just like singing and laughing and like enjoying Buffy again.
The urge to randomly say that I've got a feeling it could be bunnies is very real.
I love her breakdown in that too, where it's just like that little rock opera moment where she was just like, no one's taking me seriously. It's got to be bunnies. I'm just like, it's so great.
And Anya, just in general, now this is a podcast talking about Anya, the way that she has a relationship with grief, because she experiences grief for the first time in that show in season 5. And you constantly see these little moments of vulnerability with her where she's fighting to be heard. And it's because you get to see her be like a new human again. So I love her complex character. So I'm glad you mentioned her breakdown, because I think it's her not being listened to is like a common theme. And I feel like, and I could be wrong, but I feel like that showed up a little bit in Lockjaw. It's in the bins. Yeah. But there's a female character in the bar. She's wearing red, right? And
Jimena, yeah.
First of all, really beautiful, very beautiful like character in general.
Yeah.
Could you talk about her a little bit?
So Jimena is like every one of my aunts, because I've only known women around me to just be like forces of nature. And I think it's because like Mexican tias don't care. They will, if I come in and I'm like the energy's off, they will get it out of me, even if I don't want to talk about it. And a lot of times, because I was pretty much raised by like a single mom, like mom was divorced and got remarried, and she was a mariachi singer. So a lot of that is in Lockjaw. But I would see her consistently get undervalued at like office jobs or anywhere she walked in, because she was a woman. There was like automatically there's kind of like, well, someone helped you get here. And I can tell you there was no one that got her anywhere. Like she got pregnant at 17, got herself like a GED, became a mariachi singer, toured, released an album, did a music video. Because she chose to get a divorce and remarry, her whole family cut her out. So then she rebuilt herself. She went to school. She learned like banking and accounting. She became a banker, and she did that until she fell in love with funeral directing. And that's where my introduction to funeral directing came from. So when I needed a character that can literally just like walk into a room, my mom is gorgeous. Like I look like my dad, but my mom is like beautiful. So when she walks in a room, automatically like all the eyes go to her. And I was like, I need someone who will pull that attention, and guys will stumble themselves over her, but they will also underestimate her at every cost. And you see that with the guys. Like right away when she comes into that bar, these guys are just like, oh, like, let me get you a chair. Let's get her a shot. Let's talk to her. But they never, except for Lockjaw, at any point think like, here is someone that we should be looking at. And that's where her like power and stuff kind of comes in. So when I was working with the artist, I told them, I was like, she has to be like beautiful enough that you're not worried, where you're just kind of like comforted in her presence, because that's going to be the best way to break down your walls. When she does strike, you get like this moment. But for me, she is his only reason that he would carry on in like those 10 years. Like his whole purpose of finding her is him just kind of avoiding the grief of what she took from him, even though he was ready to walk away from it, right? Like when you see him at the bar, he's telling his friends, I think it's time I go solo. And they're like, then go. Or like, obviously he said this before to them, it's time for you to go, but he's afraid. And she's time basically coming in and taking that option away from him of staying and saying, you brought this, you spoke it into existence. Let's do it then. And she's just nature's presence in his world. But I love Jimena. And like every time I write something and I'm writing like, oh, and Lockjaw saying like she's the cruelest thing to have ever existed. But without her, he wouldn't be Lockjaw. He would still be like Gustavo playing bar gigs. So like she is time coming for him.
It's like, Xander is nothing without Anya, but no, I'm just kidding.
No, and that's too. So when we're talking about Anya, I feel like the greatest disservice Buffy did was force her like into relationships. Like I think they let her feel all the human emotions by the people around her, like friendship, love, grief. I think it would have been great to see her separate herself from Xander and just kind of learn to like love living in a different way, and I think it would have been better for her.
There's an audio drama where it's like a multiverse situation, because you remember in this show where they actually go to another reality, the alternate reality. Yeah. So in an alternate reality, Anya is still alive, and it's freaking awesome because it's just like so nice. You definitely do, especially if you're an audio person. Like, dang, it's really good. Have you done audio Dungeon Crawler Carl yet?
That's what I just finished, is book 1.
Okay.
It is a ton of fun. I didn't know what I was going to feel about that book because I kind of read it and I was like, this seems pretty goofy. And then as I was going through, I was like, this is the right amount of like goofy to heartfelt, and I love it. Especially as a guy with a cat. I was like, this is so good.
I'm like looking down. Is there a cat in the picture?
She
right now?
is around here somewhere. Usually when she hears me talk, she'll like jump on the like desk and get in my face for these interviews. But she's older now. She's like 16. So now she's just like watching me from a distance.
I love that, with that side eye.
Yeah.
So writing projects right now, you're always posting. Like you post a lot. Like you really do work a lot. I don't know how, again, like you do so many things. I'm going to have to figure out this like working for 20 minutes at a time thing.
It's a big help. So like 20-minute increments, at least like, even if you can't do like 15 minutes out of the hour that are forced to be productive, and it'll get you pretty far. Trying to be productive for like 3 hours at a time is a lot because you're looking at the clock about it. But if you can just dedicate 15 minutes to do something, then you can do 15 minutes. Like anyone can do 15 minutes. We all got it in us, even if we got to push it a little bit.
It's like kind of like that Pomodoro method. I think that's how it's pronounced. That's like where you work in blocks. But yours seems more accessible. I'm going to try it. I don't know. You kind of blew my mind with that because I want to write something. I've got something I'm working on and it's very outlined, but it's just not quite there yet. But when I think, gosh, there's so much I want to do, it stops me. So your biggest piece of advice is for people to find the time and sit down with it.
Yeah. And for everyone who thinks they don't have the time, like just to give you like an outline of my day, 4 a.m. I wake up, I go to the torteria. I'm there till like 11:30. I come home, I get my kid. I'm dad till like 1. Then I leave for the funeral home from like 2 to 6 or 2 to 9, depending if we got a funeral or not. From 6 to 9, that is Avina Comics. That is just me making content, talking about books, packing orders, doing all that stuff. All of that happens in like 15 minutes. And sometimes things jump around and I'm really good at being flexible. I'm from 4 a.m. to like 10 p.m. I am up and I am running. So if there's something out there that like any listener or anyone really wants to do, you have the ability to do it. Believe me, I'm not special anyway. I'm just a guy who is like, if I don't start telling stories now, I'm never going to do it. And I'm 36. So like I found the time to do it at 32. And I've been doing it for like 4 years. So anyone can do it.
I do think that you might be a little special. However, I love the accessibility of everything you just said. And I think that's inspiring. And I really love that as a takeaway. Just, you're freaking full of shit, man. Like in a good way, like good shit. You're full of like all the best shit. I'm like, dang, like this is gold. Everything you say is so helpful. So I'm going to just quickly say thank you for writing, because like you're creating stuff that people can read and relate to, and you're creating it with a purpose. And a lot of people want to be writers, and they want to be writers for various reasons. And I don't think there's a bad reason to be a writer unless you just want to like mess up the world by writing books that make people extreme with their weird views. But
Yeah.
we have some of that now in the world.
I've seen it. I've gotten it pitched to me, and I'm like, you didn't check me out at all. Like, what is this?
But like what you're creating is so, I don't want to use the word sweet because it's intense, you know, and I don't want people to think this is all rated PG,
Yeah.
but it's like, it's really heartwarming to read. And I like things that are a little bit on the darker side. I'm sure that you've noticed too with some of the things that I like to read. So, your writing was right up my alley, and, it hit really quickly. So I really was thinking like, I can't wait to follow up and grab some more of these.
And Starved Rock 4 will be ready soon. So I'm excited for that one because that'll be the end of that first run because that artist works at Marvel now. So I kind of lost him to that, but he was, so yeah, he was kind enough to come back and finish it out because people were DMing him about it. And he was like, I didn't expect that. I was like, me either, but people like that book. So let's finish it out. And we are. So I'm excited.
The artists that you work with, would you talk a little bit about that? Like, how do you create those relationships?
Yeah, so it all started, I went on Reddit and I was like, I need an artist, and I got ripped off a bunch. So then I went to Instagram and I was just like, I need an artist. Metzen, the guy that did Lockjaw, reached out to me and he was like, I'm an artist, like, can I help you? And we did it one page at a time at first, so we really got to bond. And then I pitched him 10 other ideas for different books. And he was like, I'm going to draw Lockjaw, but I have friends that can draw those things. And one of those friends was Tone Lima, who would go on to do Marvel. But Tone was just like this really down-to-earth guy. Like, I sent him the pitch for Starved Rock, and he was like, it's a little weird, but I like weird. And then I had him start off on 2 Lockjaw one-shots. So he did a Headless Horseman story, and then he did one about like a samurai suit of armor that's possessed by a ghost. So he did those with me. Yeah. So he did those with me. And then he learned how I write, kind of like there's a joke in the middle of all this sad stuff happening. And he loved Starved Rock. He liked the idea of it. He liked that it was kind of like this balance of like natural horror where it's like elements taking back its like forces of nature. Then we did books 1, 2, and 3. And then he got the call from Marvel to do Werewolf by Night. And from there, they kept him. He did the whole new Avengers run right after Thunderbolts came out. And now he's working with Chip Zdarsky on Captain America, which I'm super, if I was jealous of anything, it's working with Chip, because I met that guy a couple of times and I love him. Like, he is just charming and funny and all those kind of things. So at least I know like Tone's in good hands with him, but I kind of want him to come home and we like us write like a million things together. But it's been cool. And like all my other artists at this point, if you see their names on multiple books, it's because we're friends now. Like, I know their kids' names. I know their mom's birthdays. Like, we just became friends. And I follow up with them regularly, even if we're not working on a project. And then if I have friends that are looking to do comics, I always recommend the artists that I know. Because if they're not working, then they're not eating. So I want to make sure they're being taken care of. So I only recommend writers that I like to these artists because it's a good way. And one of our other artists is on Post Malone's comic. He does a bunch of their covers. So that was really cool.
Okay, that's really cool. Also, I totally forgot. I did love Lockjaw and Pistolero, but Starved Rock was actually my favorite. I totally misspoke. I mean, they're both good, but they're all amazing. But that one was actually my favorite one. I loved it, and the cover on it is so freaking cool.
So good.
Like, holy cow, that cover is badass.
And he colors the covers. Like, he'll send me a layout. Like, he sends me 5 layouts for the covers because I never tell him what I want. I'm just like, go crazy. And then he sent me that one where it's you just see the antlers up in the air, and I was like, oh, I got to make this story good enough for that cover. Cause like that cover is so awesome that if mine doesn't live up to that, people are going to be like, what are we doing here? But, he was like, every time he sends me something, I'm like, no notes, like just run with it. And he's so good at like the layouts, the like kind of brutality of that opening. When I wrote it out, I was like, if we don't land this just right, we're going to lose them by like page 3 because someone falls mangled from a tree. I was like, it's going to go real weird. And he was like, we can make it work. And then like every page, and the colorist for the interiors, Will Soros was on Ninja Turtles for a run. He loves doing
Oh.
kind of like those darker tones because he was used to drawing like New York at night or doing the color for it. So there's a lot of that you see him kind of bring over. And like that book, I felt like is the most professional looking book I have, where like when I meet people at shows, like a writer that I really admire, that's the book I give them. And that was the first one that I got a pull quote for, because that was Colin Bunn who did. If you haven't read Harrow County, you're gonna love it. It's about a girl who kind of discovers that she might be a witch, but it's like a small town haunting story, and
Mhm.
I love it. It was everything to me, that book. So getting Colin to put a quote on it was like super special. But he told me with that book, he's like, "Watch out for that artist because someone's gonna take him," and he was right.
Yeah, he'll come back home too. I'm sure. I'm sure
Yeah.
he'll have to. Yeah.
Every once in a while, I'll like reach out to him and be like, "Hey, buddy, how we feeling?" And he was like, "Still busy." I'm like, "All right, love you. See you in the next one."
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to you for mentioning the colorist. I feel like colorists don't get enough love. But I'm a color person, so like when I'm going
Yeah.
through books, I think when I read 8 Billion Genies, I was just obsessed, and the first thing was the color.
Yeah.
A good colorist will really like you set the mood. Tony Moy, when I talked to him a couple weeks ago, he was like, it's a team sport, and whenever you get to pull all those elements together, like it's really wild that you can create something so cohesive as a team. When I think about the book that I want to work on, I'm just like, dang, what if I really let them down? Like, what if the writing isn't even close? Or what if they don't get it because my writing's not like as, targeted as it should be?
I was worried about that. I'm not gonna lie, because like I came from a film background, so like directing was easy because I didn't always write it. If I could work with the cinematographer to make it look good, if I could work with audio to make sure that the dialogue was punched up or whatever, if we all worked together, if everyone just did their job to the best of their ability, we're gonna hide the stitches enough where you won't see the seams. And that's what comics are. So like I write them and I kind of direct everyone with like, this is my inspiration. These are like the film sequences that I imagined when I wrote it. But if I'm wrong, please tell me, because I'm human. I am going to make mistakes. I'm going to get in my own way. Call me out on it and let's make it better. And they will. Like an artist that cares about you will tell you when something doesn't work. When you've written too much for a page or a panel, they'll tell you, because when a line of dialogue hits really well, they will make a point to make the art push that line further through like the emotion or through the facial, whatever. In Starved Rock, the scene where the guy is just full on having a breakdown before the end reveal where the creature has its hand on its shoulder and it's kind of like that time to go moment. That was all Tone's idea, because I originally just had it like right here. And he was like, well, it'll feel more doom and gloom if we see his feet, because there's nothing more attaching to a story
Oh.
than actually seeing a person's shoes, because then they're just like you. You have that connection right away. It's a weird psychological thing, but I like the more I see it now in like a medium, people look smaller when you see them in full frame. And he was right. And I love that page. An artist will help you. So don't be afraid of what if I let them down, because they're going to make sure, because their name's on it too, that if there is something that they need to punch up or fix or whatever, they'll talk to you about it. So that way you guys are comfortable moving forward.
And the shoe thing, you just really hit me with that, because it's seeing something out of a context, because it's a different perspective. And again, like your books bring a new perspective, and they, I don't know, it's really great for processing to find a writer like you who's not afraid to explore some of these things. And it's funny that you said Starved Rock is your most professional, because all your books are super professional. I don't know. I love indies, so I read a lot of indies. And when I'm reading your work, I would never think that, oh, this one's less professional than that one. They're all stellar. They're really fantastic.
I appreciate that, because I tell people all the time, like, I'm just a guy, and like Stephen King has a comic thing that he did. It was called The Desk. And it's about how when he started writing, the desk was the biggest thing in this room that he had. And because everything was about writing. And then in the corner of the room was a little TV where Joe Hill would play Nintendo. And then as Stephen King got bigger, he realized like this desk was kind of consuming his space. And he says, if you're a writer, push your desk so that way it's sitting by a window in the corner of the room, because life is going to happen in front of you and you don't want to miss it because you're so focused on the screen or your typewriter, because the only way to be a better writer is to live. And so if I were to turn this camera around, my living room is right here. My window is right there. My desk is against the wall because my son plays on this side of the wall. So whenever I'm writing or whenever I'm doing something, even if I'm bogged down or I'm stuck or I'm answering emails or there's a rejection somewhere or something, I just look over there and life's happening over there. So it's easy to stop. This isn't as important as that. I can talk about this and be open and vulnerable because there's a ton of rejections that happen. Lockjaw got rejected 100 times. Starved Rock, I sent it out to everyone with the art, with everything. I got no notes back, just a rejection. And then I gave that book to Ben Templesmith, who was the artist on 30 Days of Night, which was like one of my favorite movies growing up. But I loved the
Hmm.
book and I gave it to him and he was like, he liked it so much. I remember we were in Minnesota at a show out there that was going terribly. So I was already in a bad mood, but I gave him this book. It was like the highlight of my trip. He found me at my table to tell me how much he liked the book. And then he did a quote for that Americana book because he liked Star Rock so much. We became friends. So if you just like get yourself out of your way and just realize like you're just telling a story and other people want to tell the story, so tell them the truth. I tell people all the time how I got like ripped off of a artist on Reddit, how I've made 1,000,001 mistakes. The next thing I'm doing on TikTok is I'm bringing a table down here and I'm setting it up. I'm going to show people how to set up for conventions because I don't think people know, because I made 1,000,000 mistakes setting up for the first time. So if I can help the next guy do his job a little easier, then at least I'll have a better booth neighbor at the next show.
Perspective. You are a writer. Like this man is a writer. Like all these insights are so good. I want to ask you just like for a final, is there like a final piece of advice you want to share or words of wisdom or just something that you want to get out there about your projects, your books? And I'm asking, even though I feel like you've already said so many powerful things, I guess I'm going to be greedy and ask for one more if you have one more in you to share.
Yeah. So making comics, especially at an indie level, you're going to feel like you're kind of like pushing against the tide, because you're going to see so many other people like flying past you. Like there are guys from when I started that have gotten book deals now, and it's really easy to feel like you're failing, but you're not, because every time I post like a cover for the next book, there's like 10 dedicated people who I didn't know before doing this that are hyping me up in my comment section. And it starts with one genuine fan. One person's going to read your work and it's going to connect something to them. In order to do that, you have to have like real human emotion in your work. You have to have like real vulnerability, real emotion, real happiness, real sorrow. And someone's going to connect to it and they're going to like it and they're going to like you. And then they're going to come back to get issue 2 and 3, but they're only going to know about it if you talk about it. So this idea that writers have to be like these like kind of quiet, oh, I'm just a writer, like it's fine kind of guys. My dream used to be like a writer sitting at a bar in New York with like a notepad, just writing things that no one would ever read because I was like a true writer just writes for themselves or whatever. It's BS. Like I did that for a day in New York and I was like, this is performative. Like this isn't me. I'm a guy from Chicago. Like put me in a room. I got to talk. I got to have like a beer in my hand and like I got stories. Like, well, that's real life. If you want to do this, like if you genuinely want to make comics, you got to just start making comics because they won't just show up under your bed one day. Like you just got to put in the work, start writing it, start drawing it, whatever you have to do it. And if there's no one around you supporting you, send me your book and I'll support you. I will hype you up. I'll be your hype man. I do it for like 10 other indie companies that you would think they're like, I should be worried about them, but I'm not, because we all get there when we get there. I'm 36. As long as I get to see my kid play soccer and make comics, like I'm happy, because life's going to keep happening in front of you. You just got to get out of your own way.
I have nothing left to say. That was so good. Okay, I have to stop recording so I can talk to you about how good that was.